right, people, what's going on? What's poppin'? It's your boy, Mr. Locario, the bad boy of the dating game, and I got with me the king of verbal seduction, man. Oh my God, this is the dude right here. Listen, if you guys do not understand who you are watching right now, okay, y'all gotta get it together, because I got my dude, Alan Roger Currie. Alan, what's good, bro? What's going on with you, man?
Hey, man, glad to join you today, man. Looking forward to chopping it up with you. And,
That's what's up. That's what's up, man. That's what's up. So listen, real quick, let's just get into this, man. We got to get into this. So, you know, you've been coaching for like years, man. So what made you even want to get into coaching? What gave you that thing that said, I actually want to help guys out and do this type of stuff?
Well, my simple, short response would be my older brother.
Okay.
The long response would be what makes me it very interesting for me being a book author and a dating coach is that initially I never wanted to be.
Okay.
I didn't. Like some dating coaches, that was like, you know, their number one goal, but I never wanted to be. My goal actually years ago, I wanted to be a successful, first I wanted to be an actor. I pursued an acting career for a while. Then later I wanted to be a studio executive in Hollywood.
Right.
And then finally I wanted to be a screenwriter and filmmaker in Hollywood, which is why I lived in Los Angeles for 6.5 years.
All right. Cool.
And what happened was my mother and father got sick, starting with around 2000, and that made me leave Los Angeles and come back to the Midwest where I grew up. And so I was trying, while I was back in the Midwest helping out my parents, I was trying to think of like a home-based business.
Right.
Start. I would tell my brother, like, man, I need to come up with an idea for a home-based business. And he had been on my case for a few years, even at that point, starting literally the mid-'80s. You talk about going back to, I want to say, 1986.
Wow.
My brother, well, this let me go back a little bit, Geese. I don't want to go to the whole backstory because it's kind of lengthy, but it started for me when I was in college. I started developing this style that I was just really straightforward with women about the fact that I wanted to have sex with them, specifically casual sex with them.
Right.
And a lot of my friends and fraternity brothers, they didn't think that style would work. Once they saw that it worked, they were like, oh, shit.
Right.
Man, let me, give me some advice, So my brother, he saw some of my seductions as an eyewitness. And he was like, bro, you on to something with this straightforward shit you do, man. You on to something, man. And you need to put this down on paper. The first thing he suggested I put on paper, again, was summer of 86. He said, man, you need to put this on paper. And at the time, I was like, man, get out of here, man.
In the summer of 86, I was like, how old was I at that point? I was probably like 5 or some shit. Damn, man. Shit, that's crazy.
The shit you said, I didn't even know what pussy was.
Right, exactly. Right, for real. I was still playing with G.I. Joes and shit. Damn.
Yeah, man. So it started in 86. That was the first time he said, bro, I think you should put this on paper.
Right.
Then roughly about 10 years later, I was now in Los Angeles. He was in San Diego. He had some guys working for him that was always asking him for dating advice. And he would tell them his own brand of dating advice, but he would always say, you really need to be talking to my younger brother, Alan. And they was like, okay, what's up with your younger brother? And he would tell them some of my stories. They'd be like, man, get out of here, man. You can't get no woman in bed by telling her straight up that all you want is casual sex. You crazy.
Right.
I'm telling you, my brother gets away with it, man.
That's crazy.
So he called me. He said, hey, man, put together like just a little pamphlet, man, sharing some of your stories, the psychology behind why you do what you do and why you think it works, and I'm going to give it to these guys. So that's what I did.
Nice.
And about half the guys said, no, this is too ballsy for me. I can't pull this off. But the other half, they read that pamphlet. It helped them.
Right.
So they told him, they said, hey, man, tell your brother to turn this into a book. This is real good shit.
Nice. So that's where the Mode 1 came from. So that's how like it all began and everything, right?
Yeah, that's how it all began, man. And I really put it into motion, going back full circle now. When I left LA and came back to the Midwest, my brother still started encouraging me. And what really, I'd say the final piece of the puzzle was when Hitch came out.
Right.
When Hitch came out, my brother was really like, dude, that's you, man. You're like a real life Hitch, man.
Right.
That's what you need to be doing career-wise, man.
Right.
And that's when I finally was like, you know what? I think I am going to try this out.
Right.
And you can say the rest is history.
That's what's up. So like when it comes to like mode 1, because you know it's about being straightforward, upfront, honest, and everything. Do you think that a lot of guys sort of do it incorrectly? Because I watch a lot of your video blogs and everything, and certain guys think they're doing mode 1, but they're not really doing it. And I had a guy that called my show, and he was like, "Yo, I'm trying to do this mode 1 thing," and I'm like, I'm not really sure if what you're doing is mode 1, so you might have to holler at Alan because you sound like you're doing some other shit. So do you find that guys sort of like misinterpret what it really is and end up doing other stuff that's not really mode 1? So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing, I always tell men, there's a difference between talking with women,
right,
and talking at women.
Right.
Those are two different things. I give a simple example. A lot of times, if you're in a big city, you'll see a woman who's attractive and sexy walking down the street, and construction workers will start whistling at her and catcalling her and just yelling out a bunch of stuff. See, that's what I call talking at a woman.
Right.
You're not talking with a woman. You're talking at a woman. And truthfully, most women, there might be a few exceptions, but most women ain't really feeling that. So the first distinction I would say is when I'm direct with women, it's within the context of talking with them.
Right.
I just, the main basis of mode 1 is simply, number one, letting a woman know that the whole reason why you talking to her, period, is not because you just want to have a friendly, entertaining conversation.
Right.
And she want to connect with her. So I would say that's mode 1 foundation rule number 1. It's just let the woman know that, hey, I ain't talking to you to talk about the Cubs game the other night or to talk about your favorite foods. I'm talking to you because I'm attracted to you and I want to hook up with you.
Right.
And then I would say even more specifically, if your interest is long-term versus short-term or monogamous versus non-monogamous, you generally let women know that.
Right.
Like, you meet a woman and you know you don't want to be her next long-term boyfriend or future husband, you tell her that straight up. Say, hey, I'm very attracted to you sexually, but I ain't trying to be your next, boyfriend.
Right.
Whereas most guys would be tempted to lie in that situation. They'd be like, well, I don't really want to be this woman's boyfriend, but I'm going to give her the misleading impression that I do.
Right.
And I always say in the long run, that's going to come back to bite you.
No, I agree. And let's talk about honesty for a second because, you got some people that think like, oh, well, I'm going to just say whatever to a girl or they'll think they're a player because they're like lying to like 10 different girls or whatever. So what's your thoughts on honesty in the game and like, how important is honesty and, or is there ever a time where you think like it's okay just to like tell us some bullshit? Like what's your thoughts on that?
Well, here's the thing. The first question a guy who does a lot of lying to women, they need to ask themselves is, why am I lying?
Right.
The question simply need to ask themselves, why do I feel compelled to lie? Some of the most common reasons would be, one is you're scared of rejection or you're scared of losing the opportunity to fuck that woman.
Right.
But my thing is, if women sense that in you, they ain't gonna really be intrigued by you anyway.
Right, real shit.
That's what a lot of guys don't get. If women sense that you're afraid of rejection and that you're afraid of losing the opportunity to fuck them, they either gonna leave you alone immediately or they're gonna play games. If they do decide to give you something, you're gonna have to jump through a whole bunch of hoops to get that pussy. Whereas here's the thing, and I think you know this, Hashim. One of the key things that intrigues a woman about a man is when he has this underlying attitude of, I want to fuck you, but I don't need to fuck you.
Real shit. Exactly.
I want to fuck you, but I don't need it. Basically, you say it to a woman, not so much in your words, but just with your demeanor, your attitude, like, I got other women in my stable.
Right.
You ain't the only fish in the sea.
Right.
I want to fuck you, but if you deny me, saying, hey, like, I'm here on crowd.
Right.
From Linda, I got other women who ready to give me some pussy.
Right.
See, that's what women say, Why does he have so much success already?
Exactly. Right.
You know that the first intimate thing, he must got some good dick because he already got women ready to supply him with some pussy.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons why I promote honesty, man, is because I realized at a young age, man, I used to be like that too. I used to, when I was real younger, I thought, number one, that a lot of women were turned off by the whole concept of casual sex.
Right.
And that the only way you could turn a woman on is to give her an impression that you want to be her next long-term boyfriend. But what I slowly but surely realized, it's almost in many ways the opposite, man. When you give women the impression that you already fucking a bunch of women, like there's a phrase I have in one of my books called "Who Said Again." I have a simple phrase that says, "Pussy attracts pussy."
Real talk. Real spit.
When women, man, I can't tell you it again, knowing what I know about you, I'm sure you've experienced the same thing. Here's what women will do a lot of times. They'll come to you, they'll be like, "Hey, Shane, I heard you just getting like just slaying women all over the place. I heard you got women just calling your phone off the hook. What's up with that?"
Right.
And you probably play it down, like, "Yeah, I got my shit and shit." But the reason they ask you no questions is because they're thinking, "Damn, you in demand."
Exactly.
You in demand. I want to know why you in demand.
Right.
Now I'm curious because I know that you in demand.
Right. Exactly.
So the very thing that some men thinks turns women off is actually what turns them on, man. When women see that other women find you sexually desirable, that makes them be like, "Shit, I want some of that."
Right.
If these other women want some, I want some of that.
Nah, that's real short. Real talk. Because I think a lot of guys don't understand that is because, women, what they're looking at is they're on some shit. Like I always look at it like if you go to a restaurant, if you pass a restaurant and nobody's in it, some people are going to think, well, something must be wrong with this restaurant because ain't nobody in it. But if there's a lot of people in it, you know what I'm saying? They're like, this got to be the shit. And women think the same way about guys. It's like, oh, if he got all these women and all these women want him, what am I missing? Let me go and see what this is about. That's what they're thinking. Like, I'm missing out on something. So, let me jump on this guy and see what's popping. So, it's definitely what you're saying is correct. You know what I mean? So, it's crazy. But, and also, too, what I found interesting was one of your videos, I remember you were talking about how there's certain guys who just have trouble attracting women and can't get women. So this is why they're sort of like frustrated and upset. And from their perspective, they think like, maybe it's like hard to get girls, or I think it was one of the videos you was talking about, you used all the T's in the video with Tyrone, Theodore, or it was the three different guys and they had the three different perspectives. So each guy had a different perspective on the game because based off of their experience. So you have one guy who's getting a whole bunch of pussy, another guy who's sort of like in the middle where he's like the average regular dude, maybe has a girlfriend, and then the guy who's getting nothing. You feel what I'm saying? So could you explain like sort of like how that plays out in the game and why guys have these different perspectives?
Yeah, well, number one, that started, one of the things that's real popular now in the manosphere is the terms from the movie, based on the movie The Matrix. People will use the terms red pill versus blue pill.
Right.
And for those of you listeners who might be ignorant to those terms, real simple, if a guy calls you blue pill, he means that you have more of a traditional attitude towards women and towards dating and relationships.
Right.
And you believe that you should only pursue long-term relationships that are going to lead to marriage. Whereas a guy who's red pill aware, he knows the reality of what I call women's true nature.
Right.
He knows women can be just as sexual as us men, just as promiscuous as us men, and so on and so on. So this one guy listened to one of my videos and he made the comment, I wrote an article for the Negro Manosphere where I said there's sometimes a very intense competition between a lot of YouTube hosts, particularly black male YouTube hosts. And this guy came back and said, well, I think the only division between YouTube hosts is between blue pill guys and red pill guys. So that video that you're referring to was my response to his comment, because I basically said no. Right. I said, there's even some red pill guys who I consider all red pill that don't see things the same way. And as you already alluded to, I said there's at least three types of red pill guys that I feel. One red pill guy is a guy that knows women's true nature because he fucked so many women, and more specifically, he's had women who were even married or engaged or married or had a boyfriend giving his pussy.
Exactly, right.
so that's going to wake him up to, women's true nature because he's like, damn, women ain't as monogamous as I thought they were.
Right.
Shit, woman, she got a boyfriend of 5 years, but yet she's sucking my dick.
Right, exactly, right.
So I called that guy Tyrone. I said, he's going to have his own perspective. Then another guy is what I call Thomas. That's what, like you said, that's what I call your in-between guy. He's had success getting women to be his, like, long-term girlfriend. But he's probably been cheated on at least once or twice, and it really left him hurt.
Right.
And so that was his, you could say, red pill awakening. He was like, damn, I thought this was a good girl. I thought she was, faithful to me, only to find out she fucking my coworker and shit. Damn, that's fucked up. Right. Or he might have had a combination of both. He might have had 1 or 2 women that cheated with him and another 2 or 3 women that cheated on him. I call that a second perspective. And then the final perspective, the guy said, I argued, is the most bitter, is the guy who hasn't experienced any of Tyrone's experiences. He hasn't experienced any of Thomas' experience. He's just heard about shit.
Right.
So, like, he might have been a guy who, like, heard what his boys say, man, this guy named Hashim, he be fucking all kinds of bitches. He be fucking other dudes' girlfriends. And he's like, man, that's fucked up.
Right.
And the other friend tells him about a friend of his who got cheated on. He's like, man, that's fucked up.
Right.
So he goes social media. He's like, man, women ain't shit, man. Fuck them. Like, there's this dude who ain't shit, man. But shit, man. Fuck that nigga, man. Fuck that. He with all his smooth talking shit, man. Fuck him, man. He's a problem and shit. That's why these bitches ain't shit. He just mad because he ain't had the experiences that you had.
Right.
He ain't had the basic boyfriend-girlfriend experiences of most guys. He ain't had really no experiences with women, but he's heard about all this shit. So he wants to discourage other guys from even interacting with women.
Right. Now, real shit. That's how, and I think a lot of times, even if you see online, there's a lot of dudes, the MGTOW dudes are, I think a big portion of those guys who are very frustrated that, you know what I mean, with that whole situation. You know what I mean? Exactly. But another video I thought was interesting was that you had a video where you were talking about how, a man can't really seduce a woman unless she finds him like appealing or, she's attracted to him in some sort of way. And is there, because a lot of guys, when you say that, they immediately just think of looks. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, it's all about you being some like super pretty boy, super handsome guy. But, I know from a lot of your stories, you were saying that because a lot of guys accused you of that. They were like, oh, well, Alan, the girls probably thought you were cute or thought you were handsome or whatever. So that's why you got over. But I remember you did a video where you said that you was on the phone with a woman and you started talking dirty to her and she never saw you ever. You know what I'm saying? And so you had her play with her pussy. So do you think that guys, even if they're not like the best looking guy, can they, through verbal seduction and through verbal skills, be able to get certain girls to be into them, even though they weren't really thinking about them in that way? You see what I mean? So sort of like, So do you think that could work where like a guy, he might not necessarily be the woman's physical type or ideal type, but because he has the verbal skills, he can sort of influence her to like want to get with him? Do you think that's possible? Or
I would say no doubt. Because I've had friends and acquaintances that have proven that, and I've had clients that have proven that.
Right.
Yeah, it looks. Well, I would say generally it depends on the woman, but generally speaking, looks are never the only thing that women pay attention to in a man. Now, what I always argue for those guys who try to argue just the opposite, that looks play no part, then that's when I disagree. I think looks are always a contributor, to a woman's attraction. But there's other things that are just as important, if not more important. One, I would say, is your overall level of confidence. This relates to what we were talking about earlier in the conversation about women becoming intrigued by, when first thing intrigues a woman, man, and this could be a guy who's average, even slightly below average looking guy. If you carry yourself with an attitude like, shit, I be getting a lot of pussy. Don't want pussy at me. That's even going to make women more intrigued because they're going to be like, well, this guy, I'd probably give him like on a 1-10 scale, only maybe a 5 or 6. But damn, so confident in himself.
Right.
Himself like he's just fucking women left and right.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that?
Mm-hmm.
They gonna know. Why is that?
Mm-hmm.
Why is this average looking dude carrying himself with the worst thing a dude who's average or less than average looking could do is top of that be carry himself in a real insecure,
right, exactly,
at your ego type man, like, I hope you like me.
Right.
Impress you. Women, that's what women going to immediately be like, oh, get this motherfucker out of here.
Right.
But if you're just, again, average looking brother, but you carry yourself like, shoot, you might be the finest bitch in the neighborhood, but I ain't going to play up to your ego. All these other motherfuckers might be, but I ain't.
Right.
They going to be like, damn.
Right.
Give them the ammunition to have that kind of cocky attitude with me.
Mm-hmm.
And thinking, he must got something going on for him.
Right.
And so, yeah, you don't have to be no male model to pull off verbal seduction skills, man.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing, and this is hard, this is one of those things falling in the category easier said than done.
Mm-hmm.
I know in our society, we've kind of almost been brainwashed to care what other people think about us.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But the single biggest thing that turns on a lot of women, man, is when you stop trying to be liked by them, stop trying to impress them, stop trying to play up to them, and have that, what I call that, I don't give a fuck what you think about me attitude.
Right. Real shit.
Like if a woman was to say, hey, you use too much profanity. You're like, so?
Exactly.
You talk about sex too much, so?
Exactly. Right.
See, most guys' natural inclination is to want to apologize. Oh, no, Linda, I don't use profanity. Okay, if I do, I'll stop. And I don't think I talk about sex too much, but okay, since you pointed it out, I guess I'll stop doing that.
Right.
No, don't do that. If somebody point out something about you, I think you do this. I think you eat too much pizza. Be like, so?
Right.
Man, stop.
Exactly. Right. Because that's the thing. Like, guys be trying to switch up and change their whole style for the girl, you know what I mean? And that's the thing that makes the girl not want him, because they're like, yo, this guy, he doesn't have anything to stand on. He's not confident whatever way he's trying to do. You know what I mean? And I think that's the problem with a lot of guys out here, is that they're scared to lose the girl, so they think, oh, let me try to do everything she wants so that she'll like me and she'll stay. And I'm like, you're fucking it up for yourself. You know what I mean? I'm like, it's crazy.
Matter of fact, quick story. I was in Vegas in 2012, and I met this guy. And he said, Alan, I'm having this problem. I said, what's your problem? He said, man, my last 5 girlfriends within 3 to 6 months after I dated them, they just left me alone.
Right.
I said, well, what would be your own assessment of why you think that? He said, that's the thing I don't understand. Like the first one, she said this, and this about me as far as criticisms, and I changed my ways, and she still left me. Then the next one, she pointed out this, and this she didn't like about me, and I changed and modified my ways. Right. Still, and I just looked at her. He was like, why are you looking at her? I said, so you don't get why all those women left you alone? He said, no. He said, I changed my behavior to please them. That was his exact word. He said, but each of them, I changed my behavior to please them. I said, and you still don't get what you did wrong. You still don't even get it right. I said, that's the very thing you fucking did wrong.
Right.
I said, you were no longer a challenge to a woman. If a woman knows that you're going to just be her little, ego booster, and you're going to modify every aspect of her. I mean, she can mold you. You're making a woman feel like she can mold you like clay. No woman wants a motherfucker like that.
Right. Real talk. Oh, and I wanted to ask you this, though, because I had a dude calling my show, and he was basically saying that he was scared to use Mode 1 because he wasn't sure because they have the whole Me Too stuff and women are talking about sexual assault and all this other craziness. And so he was thinking like, oh, I don't want a girl to accuse me of sexual harassment if I am forward with her like that. You know what I mean? So I'm sure you've gotten guys hit you up and ask you all that. So what's your thoughts on that whole situation of being straightforward with a woman and guys sort of having that fear of doing it because of all these things happening in the media and all that?
Well, number one, away from work, I don't even see what the issue is.
Right, exactly. That's right.
So that's number one. If you're talking about hooking up with women just on in your personal and social life, say whatever the fuck you want to. That ain't no crime. It's not, number one, it's not a crime to let a woman know
Right.
you are sexual.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as far as specifically for the workplace, I say in my original Mo 1 book that if there is one place you should be wary and overly cautious about being Mo 1, it is in the workplace, because different companies and different corporations have different sexual harassment laws. You got to know the sexual harassment laws of your particular company, because they range from company to company. Like, I've known situations, they have it now in some companies, where if me and you were coworkers and I was telling you about this woman I fucked this past weekend, and some woman's like 8 feet away and she happens to just overhear bits and pieces, she charged me with sexual harassment. Now, I personally think that that's bullshit.
Right.
Because I wasn't even talking to that bitch specifically.
Right. Exactly.
But to sum it up, man, number one, if you're a guy, when it comes to work, if a woman's your subordinate, you definitely should, as much as possible, stay away from that shit. Because you just putting yourself in too compromising position. And if a woman's on the same level as you, or she's on a higher level, what I always suggest in the workplace is hit on women away from work premises. Don't hit on them while you're at the job, on the job site. To say there might be a party a coworker's giving, or y'all go out to happy hour, then let them know.
Right.
And the other thing along with this, a lot of guys make this wrong assumption that in order to be Mo 1, you always have to use triple X-rated language. That's not true. That's more of an Alan Roger Currie thing.
Right.
X-rated brother.
Right.
That's not a mandatory requirement of Mo 1. You could be totally, here's an example of being PG, totally PG, but you still Mo 1. If you went up to a woman and said, hey, you know, Rebecca, I find you very attractive, but I got to let you know up front, I have no interest in any type of platonic interaction with you whatsoever. None whatsoever.
Right.
If it's intimate, I'm not interested. Did I use any profanity?
Right,
no.
right, exactly.
The extra language? No.
Right.
That was still my one, because I told her, I let her know. I ain't trying to be just friends. I'm trying to connect with you on an intimate level.
Right. So you still getting the point across. You know what I mean?
You'll
Exactly.
get the point across.
Exactly.
And you can do that without risking again these kind of Me Too. Because most of these guys, honestly, that I've heard about, who have been accused of these various charges, very few, if any of them, were what I would call Mo 1. These guys were accused of groping women, something I don't endorse.
Right.
Some of them guys were accused of either trying to rape or date rape these women. I don't endorse that shit.
Right, exactly.
Walking around naked, exposing themselves.
Right.
All this shit ain't got nothing to do with Mo 1.
Real shit. And I think that's the misconception, because I think a lot of guys, they've jumped the shark thinking just talking to a woman now. They're like, oh my God, I don't even want to talk to a woman. This is where guys are like scared. And I'm like, look, and I always thought this was funny because, and I wanted to, ask you this too, is like a lot of people that when they talk about coaching or dating coaching and stuff, they're like, oh, you shouldn't listen to dating coaches, and dating coaching is going to be irrelevant and yada, yada, yada. And I always said, as long as men and women want to get together, there's always going to be coaching for dating. You know what I'm saying? And so, I remember I was listening to somebody's podcast or something like that, and they were saying that, a lot of you dating coaches out there, it's not going to work because women are not going to be, women don't want to get talked to, women don't want to get approached, women are talking about all this harassment and everything like that. So what's your thoughts on like what I want to say is like, how important do you think coaching is when it comes to especially men trying to, step their game up? Because I know you do a lot of private coaching sessions, you travel a lot and everything like that. And what are some of the benefits that you've seen that guys have gotten from coaching, and why do you think other guys should, consider it? Because, based off of like the benefits you've seen your clients get.
Well, the number of reasons why I think that coaching will be around for a long while is because dating is so wide open these days.
Right.
And I point that out in the very last book I wrote called The Beta Male Revolution. Towards the latter part of the book, I say that, for example, I always put sexual relationships into at least 4 categories, which is long-term monogamous, long-term non-monogamous, short-term monogamous, and short-term non-monogamous.
Right.
So just those four alone, there's four options that every man has, every woman has.
Right.
Back in the day, say before the 1960s, all the dating was about entering into a long-term relationship that was going to ultimately lead to marriage.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually during that period before feminism took over, where I would say dating coaching would have been unnecessary.
Right.
Because what you need advice for? Everybody knew what the game plan was. Again, you get a long-term relationship with the expectation that it was going to lead to marriage.
Right.
Whereas now, you got some men and women who just want a one-night stand, a weekend fling.
Mm-hmm.
And other men and women who just want a few weeks or a few months of casual, kicking it type sex.
Right.
Who want the long-term relationship that's going to lead to marriage and so on and so on. And so that's all the more reason why you need a multitude of coaches. Because number one, what a coach is somebody who's been where you're trying to go.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, it's just like if you never drove, say, from Chicago to Los Angeles, I would think you would want to talk to somebody and say, hey, man, I never drove there. How is it? And this person would say, oh, I made that drive a few times.
Right.
And you got to avoid this one highway because you got to
Exactly.
avoid this one exit because this happens and this. You know, that's going to be worth your while to listen to that motherfucker tell you all the things he went through because he's driven from Chicago to Los Angeles a half a dozen times.
Right. Exactly.
That's how I look at dating coaching, man, is that guys like you and I, you could say we've experienced a lot of trial and error experiences, and we share those with guys so they don't have to.
Exactly. That's what I be trying to tell guys. I say it's all about, I was like, it's just like if you were trying to learn how to build a business. If, you could figure it out on your own, it might take you way, way longer. You understand? But if you was talking to, let's say, someone who's made $100 million in business, they could tell you some things that could save you years, you know what I'm saying, of mistakes and all that other shit. You see what I mean? So it's the same thing with dating. So it's like I always tell guys, look, yeah, you can figure this out on your own, but it's like if you have the resources, why not use the resources? You see what I'm saying? So that's how I look at it, But before we go, I just want you to mention your other books and like tell everybody what those are about. Like, Say It Again, the Beta Male Revolution, and what's the last one?
Well, that's the last one. The Beta. Okay, I have 4 books that are in both ebook version and audiobook version, and some of these are also in paperback version. I start with my first book. The first book is Mold 1. Now, I've actually changed the subtitle of my updated version. It was Mold 1, Let the Women Know What You're Really Thinking.
Right.
My updated ebook, which actually rose to #1 on Amazon in communication skills, is now called Mold 1, Whisper in a Woman's Ear What's Really on Your Mind. And that book essentially goes over what I call my 4 modes of verbal communication, which is Mode 1, Mode 2, Mode 3, and Mode 4. Then from that book, the next book after that was Say It Again. That's where I emphasize the art of what I call verbal seduction.
Right.
There's verbal ways you could get a woman aroused enough to want to have sex with you, and there's nonverbal ways. Nonverbal, of course, would be kissing on a woman, caressing her body, and things like that. But sometimes, one thing I've mastered is the art of getting a woman's pussy dripping wet just by talking shit to her, talking dirty to her. So that's Say It Again primarily emphasizes. Then my next book was called The Possibility of Sex.
Right, yeah, that's the one.
How naive and lustful men are manipulated by women regularly. Here's what a lot of men don't realize, and I didn't realize when I was real young. A lot of men think there's 2 types of women, which would simply be women who are interested in having sex with them and women who are not interested in having sex with them. But what I argue in my books is that there's actually 4 types of women. There's women who are interested in having sex with you and have no problem letting you know that. I call those reciprocators.
Right.
Women who are not interested in having sex with you and have no problem letting you know that. I call those rejectors. Then another category would be women who I call wholesome pretenders and erotic hypocrites. These are women that highly prefer to engage in only long-term monogamous sex. But if you know how to talk the right shit to them and you know how to basically what I call break them down, they'll reveal to you that they actually are down for some casual sex too. And then the final category, and this is what possibly a sex center's on, is there's a lot of women who are not interested in having sex with you, but they're willing to give you the misleading impression that they are.
Mm-hmm.
Because they want to motivate you to provide them with non-sexual attention and companionship for an indefinite period of time.
Mm-hmm.
More so, they want you to provide them with some degree of financial favors.
Right.
So a lot of women, their kind of manipulative scheme is, I'll meet this guy Frank, I'll toy with him, I'll give him the impression that he got a chance of getting this pussy.
Right.
But we already know I ain't never gonna give Frank no pussy.
Exactly.
And I'm gonna use him and toy with him for X number of weeks, X number of months, or even in some cases X number of years.
Right.
Before he figures that out. And then the beta male revolution is kind of my attempt at being somewhat of a historian, where I kind of go back at least to the 1960s. I say the period that changed a lot of things in dating relationships the most profoundly is that period between 1960 and 1974. 1960 was most significant because that's when the birth control pill came on the scene.
Right.
And you had the sexual revolution during that period, the second wave of feminism, and finally abortion was legalized in 1974. And what I basically argue is that, and I did a video on this, see, once you can say that the end effect of feminism was simply this. Women no longer felt compelled to necessarily look for a guy who was the total package.
Right.
Before feminism, they wanted a guy who had a little bit of everything to offer.
Mm-hmm.
But see, what a lot of women do these days is they compartmentalize men. Mm-hmm. In other words, a woman might say, well, if I want some good dick, I'll just call up a Sheen, and I'll get some good dick. Mm-hmm. And then I got this other friend named Joey. He always makes me laugh. So when I want somebody to make me laugh, I hook up with Joey. Right. If I want somebody to treat me for lunch and dinner, I hook up with Bobby.
Right, exactly.
Put guys in these different categories.
Right.
And see, that's why you got a lot of frustrated men, because there's some men who are just being totally left out. Mm-hmm. Particularly beta male, what I call beta male types. Mm-hmm. They're seeing that women are only using them for their non-sexual companionship and or their financial favors, but they ain't giving these guys no pussy. That's because they make their own money now. Mm-hmm. See, a woman might hook up with, let's say, nerdy Bobby Joe. Mm. They might not be that attracted to him if they know that's the only way to live a halfway quality lifestyle. Right. But if you got a woman who's making her own money and she can provide her own quality lifestyle, who's she gonna look for? She only gonna look for the motherfuckers that she know gonna fuck her right.
Right, exactly.
The rest of these motherfuckers, she gonna be like, I don't have no use for you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I wrote that book to kind of, and I know for some guys that book is kind of a downer. Mm-hmm. I've had guys say that to me.
Right.
Like, damn, Alan, your book was real, but it was kind of depressing.
That's what happens. I tell people, when you learn the truth, that's how you know you hear real shit. You immediately almost feel depressed and fucked up because it's like, damn, like I'm seeing the light. You feel what I'm saying? So, exactly. But after that, I always say after that depression becomes that enlightenment. It's like, okay, now that I know what to do now to fix the situation. You know what I'm saying?
See, let me harp on this point, because right. you make a good point. Right. And this is what I've said to guys. And there's also a guy in the manosphere, his name is Rollo Tomasi. He wrote this blog about this very thing you just mentioned. You said there should be a point when you're awakened, what's some called red pill enlightenment, red pill awakening. But as you just suggested, you said that should only last a certain period of time, and then you should go on to just modify what you need to modify in order to react to the realities of women and realities of life. Mm. The problem with a lot of guys, particularly some guys you hear on YouTube, they get stuck in that awakening enlightenment period, and they never transition out of it. Mm-hmm. Whereas most guys, like you said, they might be angry or depressed or dejected for a period of days, weeks, or months, but ultimately they transition. But there's some guys, man, I can tell listening to them, they stuck in that period.
There, yeah, exactly.
And they can't get over it. Like, they like, man, this is fucked up. My mother told me women that were one way, but now I'm finding out that Hashim has been fucking all these women, man, that I thought were good girls. This is bullshit, man. Right. Instead of saying, okay, yeah, I realize that now I'm, look at things different, do some things different. They want to stay on that for like 2 years, man. This is fucked up, man.
Right.
And my church that I thought was a good girl, and she had her sucking his dick in the back of his mouth, man. Fucked up. And they do 100 episodes on their YouTube channel talking about this
exactly,
same shit.
Right, exactly. And they think something's gonna change by them complaining about it. I'm like, yo, dude, you gotta understand, like, because I'm like, I always thought that, hey, it's good that you know now, because now that you know, at least now you know what direction to go in now. Now you know that, okay, let me stop paying for this girl's rent because she's just using me for my money. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And let me be a little straightforward with these women, because now that I know that there's certain women who are gonna like try to play games and be an attention whore, let me get that out the way by being upfront with her. And this is what I like about Mode 1 is that it's like, yo, there's no room for the girl to bullshit you. You feel what I'm saying? That's what it is. You know what I mean? Like, there's absolutely no fucking room for that shit. So I'm like, that's what it is a good thing. 'Cause I think on one of your last videos, you were talking about that, about how some guys, they'll talk about, you know, oh, let me do the little sub-communication thing. But it's like, it makes it easier for women to sort of play games at you. You know what I mean? But what's your thoughts on that?
yeah, man. A lot of guys, I'm getting, this is one of my most common, I guess, philosophical debates I've had with a number of other dating coaches. But I want to always preface my comments by saying I'm not totally anti-sub-communication. I think sub-communication works best when it works in conjunction with being verbally direct.
Right, exactly.
So to give an example of that is, let's say you approach a woman at a social setting and you want to let a woman, you know, you want to have sex with her. But in addition to letting her know that verbally, your demeanor is a certain, like, calm, confident, seductive way. So you're like, yeah, baby, you know, well, let's go to your crib, make some stuff happen. You know, you smooth about it. So that would be an example of you using both the verbal, direct, but what I'm saying, as you already just said, that if you just rely on sub-communication alone, but you leave your language very vague and ambiguous, then if you run across a woman who's an attention whore type or a cock teaser type, man, she's just going to run circles around you.
Exactly. Real shit.
Because sub-communication alone doesn't force a response.
And that's what you need. You need for her to be able to respond to your direct shit. You feel what I'm saying? That's all it is. Because it's almost like a yes and no answer. It's no maybe. It's like, look, this is what I want to do. You cool with it or not? That's it. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
That's it.
And see, a lot of men, they almost want to shy away from that. I've even had a few men try to criticize that, like, no, I never want a woman. I'm like, yes, you do. You want a woman. The worst thing you could do is allow a woman to just indefinitely be vague and ambiguous. Because like I was talking about with the manipulative time waster type, that's what they bank on. That's what they bank on. Like, manipulative time wasters like to use vague and ambiguous language like, well, Leon, let's play it by ear and see what happens.
Right, exactly.
What the fuck does that mean? Right. Come on, Gene. Right. I'm sure you know guys in your real life that were what I call fun club, and they were hanging out with a woman for weeks or months.
Right.
And dude, you ain't even fucked this woman yet. You've been hanging out with her for like 8 months, dude. I mean, you know, she said, you know, my lucky day is coming, so you know.
Right. She said she wanted to take it slow. She's not that type of girl, you know. She, you know.
Exactly. Man, like, yeah, man, you know, she a different kind of girl. You know, she a good girl, man. So you know, she just more of a childish man. Right. Then what's gonna happen? That's at the 8-month mark, and then at the 15-month mark, that same friend of yours gonna be like, man, man, I can't get over how that bitch used me for the last year and a half. Like, I told you. No, man, fuck that bitch, man. Fuck that bitch, man. He gonna turn on her. He gonna be like, man, fuck that bitch, man.
Right.
I'm gonna blow up a car or some shit. Use me for fucking 15 months and shit. You know,
he gonna be one of them dudes on YouTube with the videos, for real. That's how it starts. That's how them dudes become those dudes on YouTube with all them videos complaining like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's where it goes.
Exactly.
Oh, man. That's how this shit goes, man. But, yo, Alan, man, this was fucking great, man. I appreciate you stopping through. I know you got a busy schedule. So tell the people where they can find your books, where they can, hit you up. Tell them your website, everything, shout it all out.
Well, number one, thank you for having me as a guest. I always enjoyed having you as a guest on my old Blog Talk Radio show.
Appreciate it, definitely.
Let's chop it up with you again. Your listeners, if they want to find out more about me, I'll give a few sites. One, my main website for men is directapproachdating.com. All is one word, directapproachdating.com. I have a secondary website where I actually do BDSM consulting for married and unmarried couples. That is mode1.net, MODEONE.net /training. And then I have a Patreon supporters page. It's patreon.com/mode1, MODEONE. And the final link I would share is just simply Amazon. If you want to find my audiobooks, my ebooks, and many of my paperbacks, just put in ALAN, Alan, Roger, and then CURRIE, Currie, into Amazon, and you'll find my ebooks, paperbacks, and audiobooks.
That's what's up, man. Yo, Alan, I appreciate this, man. Like, real talk, you're a legend in the game, okay? Like,
I appreciate that. I appreciate it.
You understand what I'm saying? So your influence and what you've been doing, the work you put in is freaking ridiculous. You understand what I'm saying? So, brother, keep doing your shit. We got to do this again. You understand what I'm saying? I learned a lot from you, and we got to just keep this going. You feel me?